Today we're going to have Sarah's holiday Disneyland trip. That's coming up on this episode 495 of WDW Prep To Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep To Go, where we talk strategy and ideas and have lots and lots of trip reports. I'm your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 495. Today is another trip report, this time with Sarah, and much to my delight, she was going to Disneyland for the holidays. And if I can't be there in person, then I'm excited to talk to somebody else who gets to. It's one of my favorite places in the world, so you'll hear from Sarah in just a minute. I did want to mention on last episode, we got lots and lots of DMs, emails, etc. about the audio on the post-trip being quiet. And as I mentioned last time, I'm using a new recording platform and editing workflow and everything, and it was part of that learning curve where I had a setting in the recording platform that I think affected my audio, but this time it should be better. So I appreciate you letting me know, but I think we got it fixed hopefully in this episode. I think that's it for the intro. Let's jump into my chats with Sarah.
Welcome to the podcast, Sarah.
Hello.
You and I are talking on Wednesday, December 17th, and I understand you're headed to the West Coast.
Yes, we are headed out tomorrow, Thursday, December 18th, to December 24th.
Okay. Magical time of year to be there.
Yes.
Have you ever been to Disneyland this time of year?
Yes, we actually went last year, but after the holidays. So we were there the 27th, 28th, 29th. So we're excited to go this year, the days before Christmas. So we're going to go we'll be in the park the 19th, 20th, and 21st.
Okay. So you're not afraid of a crowd?
Yes, and I think that's all we've known. So we don't know any different, even though people tell you not to go at that time. We didn't seem to mind last year. So we are curious, though. I think the 19th, when we're in the park the first day, we normally take a sort of a break day the first day we get there. But this time we're diving right in because some crowd calendars show that there's a slight dip maybe in crowds. So we'll see if that day is any different.
So you're going to try to get in before the crowds.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, I think the thing about traveling during busy times like this is that if you know what you're getting yourself into, I think it's totally manageable.
Yeah.
And you obviously do. Okay. So who's going on this trip?
It's myself, my husband, and our 5-year-old son.
Okay. And is this the same group that traveled like last year to Disneyland?
Yeah, it was. Last year, we left on Christmas Day. And so we started in the parks on the 27th. And then we left from Anaheim because we are based out of near Toronto. So we flew across and then we actually kept going to Hawaii and spent a few days at Aulani before flying home. So it was a bigger trip last year. This year, now that we know a little bit more about Disneyland, we just honestly fell in love with it so much. It was our first time going. So now we're just excited to sort of go back. And we know you can really go for 4 or 5 nights and really get a full experience. And so we found that really manageable and we're excited to go again.
And you have more trip days than park days. So I'm curious how you're spending your time on this trip.
Yeah.
So December 18th is when you said your trip starts. So does that mean you're flying from Toronto to Anaheim?
Yeah, we're flying to LAX. A direct flight. Yeah.
Okay. Toronto to LAX. And when do you arrive?
We arrive about 7 p.m. So we're pretty much just going to arrive at the airport. Last year, we arrived on Christmas Day, as I mentioned. We tried to get a rental car and it was a disaster. And we ended up having to take an Uber and ditching the rental car idea. So this time, we're just going to try to find an Uber. I've heard that certain Ubers come into the airport. So we'll sort of compare prices once we land, see what we can get, and jump in an Uber and head to our hotel.
Okay. And what is your hotel?
We're staying at the Westin Anaheim for 5 nights.
All right. Have you stayed there before?
We did. Last year, we stayed 2 nights at Westin Anaheim, and we stayed 2 nights at the Pixar place. Mm-hmm. And we split our time last year. I love trying different hotels, so I couldn't decide last year. We liked the perks that Pixar Place offered with the DCA entrance. It helped us at the Westin as well, because they're both sort of proximity located close together. But I think my husband is a traveler for work. So he's a Marriott Titanium status. That means you have over 75 nights a year. And so for us, we have enough points to stay for free at the Westin. So it's pretty hard to compete with free as a price. And I did notice the Pixar place, the prices went up, I would say about $100 a night compared to last year post Christmas. Even the pre Christmas was pretty expensive. So for us, even that 30 minutes of extra time in the morning, even though we loved it, I think we decided just to fully stay at the Westin. We actually thought it was a beautiful hotel. We're so excited to go back. They upgraded us, and it was just such a magical room. And the hotel, I consider myself a bit of a hotel snob, and it was just pristine. Like I had zero complaints about the Westin.
Okay. And the Pixar Hotel is about to lose some of those benefits too. So
Yes, they are. I don't know who. Well, lots of people still stay there because it's Disney themed. I know my son's probably going to be sad, but
it's just so expensive, and to not get on-site perks,
yeah,
it's hard to justify, especially when things like the Westin are right there.
I know.
So-
And compared to Walt Disney World, when I look at prices, like there's a Westin at Walt Disney World, the price, even if you were paying cash, I find is much cheaper in Anaheim. So it's a beautiful hotel. Even though the one at Walt Disney World isn't terrible, I just think the one at Disneyland is gorgeous.
Something I've never been able to reconcile is that we all know California is an expensive place to live, but I'm like, why are Disneyland options actually kind of affordable?
Yeah. When we priced it out, I think going to the West Coast ends up being a cheaper trip for us.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand the math, but that's how it works out. Okay. So you're going to get to the Westin Anaheim. It'll be kind of late-ish by the time you get there. So is that kind of the end of that day?
Yes. We will just pretty much go to bed. We're 3 hours the other way. So it'll be late for us.
So you told us Friday, December 19th is your first park day.
It is, yep. And we're planning on rope dropping. That day we're going to Disneyland because DCA has the early entry for hotel guests. So we're going to go the opposite way. That's what we did last year. It seemed to work out.
Okay. And what are your priorities at Disneyland?
So we have the park hopper and our lightning lanes. So I have a few different strategies for the park rope dropping that morning. I actually listened to a podcast you did a few months ago with the person who went to Japan, and they said they made bingo cards. And so this trip was actually a surprise for a 5-year-old that we were going. We just told him on the weekend. So we made picture bingo cards. And so I can send a picture to put on Instagram. But
yes. And this video will be on YouTube. So anybody that's watching it can see.
So we did that to sort of, I think when you're going around the holidays, you have to understand that you can see anything you want, but you can't see everything. And so I really wanted to get a sense from our 5-year-old what sort of his goals were. And so on the weekend, we watched ride videos on Disney Plus and on YouTube, and we just tried to get a sense of maybe what are some of the stretch goals he might have that he didn't ride when he was 4, but he might be excited about riding when he's 5. He is a tall 5-year-old, so he can get on every ride. It'll just depend whether he feels comfortable. So I think we have a few goals. Last year when we did rope drop, I researched it so much, and I know people are hit and miss on this, but we did go to Peter Pan first, and I just thought that was the most adorable first ride, and we absolutely loved it. So part of me is like, you could do that strategy again. And then we went to Toontown, which felt deserted the first day we were there. We got to see Mickey do Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and Chip and Dale's Gadget Coaster. So that's definitely one path we're considering. If he feels excited, he watched the Indiana Jones ride about 1 million times on Disney Plus, but he says he doesn't want to ride it. But if he changes his mind, that's another option for us, is going to rope drop Indiana Jones with, I'm sure, a lot of people, and then do Big Thunder Mountain Railway, which we haven't done as well. The big goal I have for this trip, which we didn't do last year, is to do Tiana's Bayou. The reason we didn't do it last year, I think it had just opened. It was a lot harder to get, and our days were pretty cold and rainy. So this first day we're there, I think I looked at Anaheim, the weather might get to a high of 23. That's Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Sorry.
Well, you're in luck because I keep the weather on Anaheim on my phone. And you're talking about this Friday, 73 degrees Fahrenheit.
So for us, we're okay getting wet, maybe even any of the days, but that is definitely a goal. So we could do Adventure Frontierland as a rope drop, or the last one is going over to sort of the Buzz Lightyear area, do Space Mountain. that one is probably our third option, but we do another rope drop day at Disneyland. So whatever we don't do this morning, we'll do the other one.
And can you clarify on the bingo card thing? So is this all of you contributing to the bingo card for your priorities?
Yeah. We each did one. So we have three of them.
Different cards. Okay.
And then we got them laminated. These are self-made, so they're not perfect. We just glued on little pictures. So we are going to check them off each day to see where we are and what things we still have left. I think we were joking with my husband because his is mainly food. So I don't know. His might be easier. There's a lot of cold brews on it, but he also has trickier rides that I'm not sure my son will want to ride.
And then do you literally cross them off your bingo card as you go?
That's what we were going to do. Yeah. And then just see. Yeah.
It's a fun way for everybody to do their lists.
Yeah. And we'll see who gets theirs finished first, or if anyone does, I guess.
All right. So you have some different like rope drop paths that you have defined.
Yeah.
What else do you have on this day?
I think the other thing we really love doing is using our lightning lanes to try to think through what we wanted to go do. So Millennium Falcon, my husband and I both did last year, but we didn't bring our sons. So we're thinking that might be a goal as well if we don't rope drop Space Mountain, trying to get on there and over to Buzz and Matterhorn. We last year always just when we got to the park, we stayed there the whole day until my son basically fell asleep and then we went home. So even though we're really close to the hotels, I found that we didn't leave anyways. We just sort of kept going. We do really want to see maybe the fireworks or some of the shows, World of Color at DCA one of the nights. And so hopefully maybe we might have to take some breaks so we actually can make it to the end of the night. Usually he would fall asleep. So I think that first day though, we'll probably definitely stay for the Christmas parade around 5:30. Maybe see the Small World getting lit up. And we have a few foods we want to try that day: the turkey sandwich at Jolly Holiday, a Monte Cristo sandwich. And last year we always used the advanced ordering and we never work. So we're typically more in on these days, the park days, to do just our quick eats. We don't do any sit down meals for these 3 days.
You just listed some good quick service food too.
Okay.
You did lots of good options, even if you don't have a table service reservation. Okay. And have you seen the nighttime shows out there before?
We saw World of Color last year. My son fell asleep before it started, so he was just asleep in the stroller, and my husband and I watched, and we did see the Christmas parade, but we've never seen anything at Disneyland in the evening, like the fireworks. We know that they're hit or miss. We also, one of the perks of the Westin and having status is they have a club lounge that overlooks. So my goal is to see the fireworks, even if it's at our hotel, just looking at the fireworks. They usually do a little snack that's special when the fireworks happen there.
Okay. All right. Lots of paths you could take on this day then.
Yeah.
All right. Then what is your plan on Saturday, December 20th?
So we are rope dropping DCA, Disney California Adventure. Our main path is to go to Toy Story Midway Mania. That was my son's favorite ride. We did go there first last year, although we did have early entry. So before it opened, we did the symphony swings and some of the smaller rides in Pixar Pier, which I actually think are just so adorable to do in the morning with a small child. And it was so quiet over there in that area. So we really appreciated that. The fun thing that happened to him, which is probably a once in a lifetime experience, but we rode symphony swings so many times, pretty much by ourselves. They said, wait here. And they came and brought him a card that was conductor for the day. And so he got to ride that ride as many times as he wanted and skip the line at any point in time during the day. And then with that, we actually got advanced seating or excellent seating for the World of Color show, which is why we went last year, even though he fell asleep, because we had this private area that was roped off for the conductors of the day.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So this year, Toy Story Mania.
Yeah, Toy Story Mania. And then probably the stretch goal will be the Incredicoaster. He's tall enough, but he's never gone on an upside down roller coaster. Here in Toronto, we have Canada's Wonderland, so he knows roller coasters. So we'll see if he's up for it. And we didn't do the Pixar Pal Around last year, so maybe that quickly. And then going over to Cars Land, last year we got on Mater's, but not Luigi's. So hopefully getting on Luigi's before the lines get too long. And we are prepared to buy the single lightning lane for Radiator Springs racers. We did it during the day, so we might try to book for a later time so we get to see it in the dark. My son's a huge Cars fan. He has lots of Cars gear decked out. So we're excited to do those rides again too.
Yes, use those lightning lanes. Are you a Disney World person as well?
We went once when he was little, and I would say that's more where I grew up going to Disney World, but we haven't done it well enough to know the ins and outs of it yet.
Okay. I was going to ask you which lightning lane system you preferred because the current Disneyland one is kind of like the old Disney World one, and some people like it better.
I do know enough about the Disney World one that I think the pre-booking in advance seems less like our personality. You can kind of hear from the way I'm describing is we're a little bit more, what do we feel like in the moment? So we have plans, but we're willing to pivot. From our friends who have gone to Disney World, it seemed like it had to be a little bit more structured in advance. And that seems stressful for me to pick so far out what you want to do on a certain day. So I do love the Disneyland with a small kid who changes his mind and you don't exactly know what he wants.
Yeah, it lets you, it's more improv or whatever than it is than Disney World. Some of us, myself included, like the pre-booking because at least we know a few rides we're going to have that day.
Yeah.
The booking the same day feels a little too spontaneous, unknown.
I know. I do think at the holidays, the one thing we noticed last year is I can't remember. I think it was by the 29th was probably our busiest day last year. And I would say by mid-afternoon, there were no lightning lanes on a lot of rides anymore. So you were really refreshing that app just if somebody happened to drop them. So you do have to be more aware in the holiday season that if you want to use lightning lanes, you can't just bank on them being available. So that is something we learned. So I'm curious to see, I've been watching the app to see if there's a time when things are sort of disappearing.
The Thrill Data website tracks all that too.
Okay, I'll look there.
They have the data behind that, but holidays are obviously going to be more competitive. So on this day, are you doing quick service dining again?
I think so. And we might do the Sip and Savor Pass for the Festival of Holidays if we can think of enough items to get. We're thinking about trying. We've heard the queso is really good, the pork belly with sticky rice, I think it is, and the sticky toffee Mickey macaron I've heard great things about. So those are the three we're excited to try. We also love Pim Test Kitchen. There's the cutest little kids meal there that's basically peanut butter and jam and orange and yogurt. And that's basically how my child eats all the time. So I love that they have just this very kid appropriate meal. Plus the food there is so fun if people have never been.
One of my favorites. It's good. It's just good food. All right. And any nighttime shows on this day?
Just if we get to see something, we have the energy, we'll probably try for something.
All right. And then Sunday, December 21st?
We are going to rope drop Disneyland again because DCA has early entry. That was the only thing I was a little bit sad about because I think where my son is more into Pixar and Cars. So maybe we'll change our mind there. But right now we have Disneyland and we'll do a different strategy for that morning. And then basically the goal for that day is just to see anything on our bingo cards that really remains, things we would be totally sad not doing. We'll make that our priority. I found the third day last year with our son to be more tricky because the first 2 days he's sort of overwhelmed and he let me lead. And the last day he had a lot of opinions about where he wanted to go. And that is a lot trickier when there's big crowds. So he did, even that day, we said, this line's going to be an hour, but he wanted Toy Story Midway Mania again. And he patiently waited in the hour-long line. But most of the time we used our lightning lanes to really avoid ever being in long lines. So I think this last day is really just to utilize those, get where we don't want to go. My husband would like to see Rise of the Resistance, so he may buy a single lightning lane for that and just go and experience that. I didn't get to go to Bengal Barbecue last year, so that's something I'd like to try again on this day. We loved Ronto Roasters, all the wraps there, and my son loves the blue drink in Star Wars area, and so we'll probably do that and maybe pick up some gingerbread cookies.
All right. And now you said at the beginning that you have park hopper tickets.
Yeah.
So do you plan to go between the parks?
Yeah, pretty much. I think our afternoons could go anywhere. Like, I think we'll just see where the rides are that we're most excited about riding. Last year, we went back and forth maybe 2 or 3 times. It might not be the most efficient, but sometimes you just got a great lightning lane and you were really excited, and so you decided to go over to a different area of the park. So we really just float. We do bring a stroller. We walk a ton, but we don't mind that at all. So
Okay.
yeah, I think we will probably rope park hop, but we're just not sure exactly when.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine going to Disneyland without park hoppers,
Yeah.
but I was just curious how you imagined doing that. So it sounds like you're starting your day at a definite park, and then you might go over to a different later in the day.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on this before you move on to December 22nd?
I don't think so.
Okay, so what is your plan on Monday, December 22nd?
So for this day, we're staying in Anaheim area. We're doing Storytellers Cafe for the Daisy's holiday PJ party at 10 a.m. We all have matching pajamas. My son still loves to match. So while he's in this era, I'm here for it. And we really loved going there last year. We actually did it as our first day last year, but we woke up super early for it. We had about a 7 a.m. restaurant time. This time we got about a midday one around 10, 11. We ended up we loved it so much, we decided to get a reservation for Goofy's Kitchen last year and do a second character breakfast. I think you've said somewhere on the show before, but I think one is just enough. So for us this time, we're just doing Storytellers. We just loved the vibe there at the holiday season. And for adults, I thought the food was a little bit more elevated than Goofy's Kitchen. Goofy's Kitchen, my child adored the food, and I thought I would like to be back at Storytellers. So we're going to do that. And then we didn't get any time last year to explore downtown Disney. Other than walking through it, we really didn't see anything. And so I know they have the Chippendale Ornament Trail activity that we may end up doing. And then in the Pixar Place Hotel for dinner, they have a Great Maple restaurant, or Maple, and we thought the food was amazing there. So our goal is to get back there for dinner. We have reservations for the brunch and for the dinner. I don't think you'd need it for Pixar Place too far out, but the Storytellers Cafe holiday party brunch is definitely booked up at this point. And then our goal that night is to have a low-key night if the fireworks are on that night, to prioritize being in the club lounge and watching those.
From your hotel.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a very Disneyland day without going into the parks.
Yes, we waffled a lot on getting tickets for this day, but I think we just know ourselves. If we got tickets, we would not do anything else. We would just fully be in the parks. So we're taking the option of just not getting tickets, sort of taking that pressure out. But I think we're open to the fact that if we feel like we really missed something or the parks were so busy, we could also add a day on at that day.
Okay. Tuesday, December 23rd.
So this day we are picking up a rental car, basically just for the day. We leave the Anaheim area. I'd been exploring some options. It doesn't look like maybe the warmest day, but we were thinking of maybe visiting a beach and checking out some sites in the LA area. Last time we didn't explore anywhere, so we'd like to see something. Or we've also saw that there's a slime factory in Beverly Hills, so we may go there with our son to just see a different area, have a nice lunch somewhere. So basically, we're trying to see something else other than just Disney parks. We just haven't decided, and we'll probably be a little weather dependent. When we're done with those activities, we're driving to the airport area. We have a Marriott Los Angeles Airport hotel booked for that night. We're going to drop off the car and basically stay in for the evening, and then we fly out the next morning, more or less. So we just get on the free shuttle and we leave.
Okay. So Friday, December 24th, you get on the free shuttle from your hotel, your Marriott.
Yeah.
And head to the airport.
Yes. And then we're home on the 24th around 7 p.m. our time. So just in time for the festivities if all goes well.
All right. This sounds fun. This sounds very holiday. Disneyland's one of my 2 favorite places to be in December, and so I'm just extra excited for you.
Yes, we are excited too. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So I'll talk to you then in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how it went.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
Welcome back from your trip, Sarah.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We are talking on Monday, December 29th, which means you've been back for 5 days.
Yep.
just before Christmas. How are you doing and how was your trip?
It was great. It's been a whirlwind because we came back and actually our flights home had to change slightly just because we decided due to the weather in the Los Angeles area right on the 24th, actually. So we came home on the 23rd, but we can talk a little bit about that later. So we got home a day earlier, which was nice, but we've been going all through all the Christmas things, and it's nice today I was reflecting on the trip, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay. This is your first time to sit down and really think
Yeah.
about everything that you did. Okay. So then let's start talking through it, which starts with Thursday, December 18th, which was your flight from Toronto to LAX.
Yep. And so that day went pretty well. Our flight was a little bit behind. I think there was a medical emergency on the flight, but that is completely understandable. Sometimes those things happen. We only got in about 30 minutes later than scheduled. So about 8 p.m. We had sort of a plan to get an Uber at the LAX airport, and we didn't really know exactly how much it was going to cost. We had heard Black Ubers and Lux Ubers, I think, you can take directly from LAX. And so when we arrived on that particular time, the price was about $250 right from the airport to the Anaheim area. And we thought that was a bit higher. We were sort of thinking if it was $150, we were going to go, and it was well over $150. So we decided to try to find where you go for the Ubers. And there's another bus you can take to the Uber area. It was packed. Honestly, it was really hard to get on. And what we had done before, when I mentioned in the pre-trip last year, we were trying to rent a car. It didn't work out, and we were able to take an Uber from the car rental place. So we actually instead, the car rental buses didn't have anyone on them. We just jumped on a car rental bus, got out of the airport area, and called an Uber from there, which I don't know, it might be a little bit of a hack for other people. If ever the Uber bus is packed, just get a bus somewhere and then call an Uber to that location, and it instantly dropped the prices to about $100. So it's quite a significant difference just leaving the airport.
Huge. Oh my gosh.
And our son was tired at that time, so walking somewhere didn't excite us, but grabbing a quick bus was super easy.
Yeah, that is a great tip. I know Ubers from LAX are a huge complaint about LAX, but
Yeah.
doing what you did saved some money and maybe some time too.
Yeah, it was super easy. And where the car rental is, we just grabbed on budget, I think Enterprise bus. It's almost like a not busy street. So the Ubers could pull up, even though it says not to. And it was really easy to get in. And we didn't have any traffic going to Anaheim around that time. So that would have been about 8:30, 9. And we got there just before 10 o'clock, got our room. I mentioned we were staying at the Westin Anaheim, which is really close to the parks. My husband, again, is a titanium member, and so they did sort of upgrade us. We just booked the most basic room. So we actually had a park view and a balcony, and they listened that we loved the bathtub. So they gave us room with this gorgeous bathtub, which we used a lot while we were there when we were relaxing our bodies. And so we really just got into bed that night and went to sleep, because for us, that was about 1 a.m., but it was only about 10 Anaheim time.
Okay. So you had to get in bed early because the next day you had plans for Rope Drop, Friday, December 19th.
Yeah.
Did you, in fact, Rope Drop Disneyland?
We did. Yes, we were up. I think we were all sort of up before even 6 a.m. I can't remember the exact time. So it was very easy for us still to get up, even though I think we were tired. We didn't know, but the excitement was there. This morning was super easy. We left the hotel. So there was breakfast at the hotel in the club lounge. We ran up and had a little bit to eat. It opened at 6:30. I kind of wish it opened a little bit earlier. That would be my only complaint. The Westin is open at 6, so you don't feel quite so stressed, like eating and rushing over. And so we left the hotel at 6:50. We got to security, I think it was at 7:08. So it took us about 15 minutes to walk to the front of security at downtown Disney. So that's right near the Disneyland Hotel. We walked past Pixar Place Hotel, and there was nobody at security line. So I might have gotten lulled into a false sense that this was going to be the way it was every single day of the trip. But on that Friday, we walked right through, and we were in line at the Disneyland gates at 7:18. We were about 10 people back from the front of the gates. They opened at 7:25. And we did have like a little moment of panic. So we're Canadians. We bought the Canadian ticket prices. And so when we got to the gate, the man was like, "Did you bring your passports?" And you had to prove you were Canadian. And we had this like flush of panic. We did not have our passports with us. And he was not very happy. So I don't know, he probably was having a rough morning. And I said, "Well, do you take any other ID?" And he said, "Not really." But then another person walked over and was like, "Just show me your driver's license." And it ended up being completely fine. But I did feel like it would have been a tough moment for me as a planner to realize we got there on time to not have our passports. So maybe people should just, if they're Canadian and they buy those, use this as your warning and maybe bring your passport. I don't know if that's anyone's ever been turned away, but
Yeah, a lot of people don't like walking around with their passports though.
I know.
Like, what are you gonna do? Go through a whole theme park, on water rides and all this stuff with your passport?
Yeah, it was tough. They said you only had to show once, so maybe just the very first day, but still, they ended up taking our driver's license, no problem. So the person who told us we were not going to get in, maybe they're having a tough moment, and normally driver's license are okay. So, but it ended up working out, and we got into the park at 7:28, and we headed to the left of the castle thinking we were going to rope drop Peter Pan. That's what we were planning on. I think you get sort of stuck behind the rope until the park officially opens at 8. So you always think like you're saving, waiting, but you still have to wait somewhere. And I think for my son, he was sort of in a stroller crowded around by a bunch of people. And I think it was just sort of throwing him off a bit. He was a bit tired. And so I said, "Oh, like, let's go on Peter Pan." And right before we were about to go there, he was like, "I don't want to go on Peter Pan." And so it sort of threw off what we were thinking. But I thought, well, we'll just walk over there. And if Peter Pan's low, we might be able to convince him. But it was the first time I've seen this happen, but tons of people ran, like sprinting out of the rope drop. We didn't run. We just sort of walked quickly. But there was a lot of running people. That didn't happen on any other day. And there was more people working that were telling people not to run. But that day, there was a lot of people that ran. And so Peter Pan, even when we got there, kind of seemed like already a long line. So we just said, okay, he didn't want to do it anyways. And we diverted over to Toontown, which ended up being a really nice. I love Toontown in the morning. It's so quiet. Not that many people go over there. And we got on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. We were the very first group watching the movie. Our son was loving it. He loved the pre-show. And then when Goofy came out and the smoke came out that happens on the ride, it's almost like he had this visceral reaction and remembered he was scared from the ride last year. And so as we exited, he was like, "I don't want to go on this ride." Like, just totally shut down. And I think it was such a good moment for us to go through as parents, because you have all these big dreams and plans of your rope drop and you're the first ones there. So you're so excited, and your child sometimes does just shut down and does not want to do it. And we said, "Okay, you are part of this family and you don't want to go on this. We will just leave." So we left. And as we were exiting, they actually did an immediate ride shutdown of that ride. So I don't even know if the people who were in that first group got to go on it. So maybe they did, but then it was shut down for about another hour. But we left, and it was the right choice for our family. And we ran right into Mickey. He was right outside his house. And my son was so excited because he got his very first autograph book for this trip. He didn't have one when we've been there before. And we were behind just one family, because that's not what most people rope drop and do, is go and see Mickey. Mickey spent so much time with him, and it was just such an amazing way to start our morning. So in the peaceful calm of Toontown with Mickey was really how we set things off, and that was really special. We have some amazing pictures from that interaction.
Nice. I hope you'll send them in so we can see them.
Yeah.
Did you bring your own autograph book, or did you get one there?
We did bring our own. We had one made from Pinterest, and it was really cute. It has his name on it, and Mickey's in different superhero costumes, and it was really great quality. Maybe I can send the link or something, but the person did a really lovely job. So he loved that.
Cute. What was after Mickey?
So then we went on Chippendale's Gadget Coaster. He loves roller coasters. That was an easy walk on, walk off. Then we headed over to It's a Small World, which is so fun at Disneyland. We've been on it at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, but the holiday overlay is just so fun and magical. So that wasn't the only time we went on it, but it was really special. And I think at that point it was about 8:45, and it felt like we were not in the parks alone, but not with a lot of people. We went over to Autopia, that ride. It was very short line, but they only had one row of cars open. So it took about 10 minutes, but still pretty easy. We walked on Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters, and I think we rode it twice, just went around, and that was about 9:30. And I think
I have a question
Yeah,
about
go ahead.
lightning lanes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think this day, I was going to say in the morning, it felt almost impossible to use lightning lanes. Like I couldn't even figure out how to strategically use them in Disneyland in the morning. It was so unbusy that compared to last year, it felt like I had to use them constantly. Like they were already being pushed out. Even when I was searching them up, they were still for like 10 minutes away. So I really didn't see a great value on the Friday for the lightning lanes, if that's what
Yeah,
you want
and
to
so
ask.
for people listening, the current system at Disneyland is like Genie Plus. So it's just whatever it's available next, as opposed to like picking your time.
Yeah.
And so you didn't have anything to book because the return times were too soon, sounds like.
Yeah, they were all really current, and everything we wanted to ride, we weren't riding obviously Space Mountain, Indiana Jones, some of the ones that maybe were getting pushed out a little bit. We were really focused on the ones that had absolutely no wait. And so I didn't even know what to do. And even we knew we were going to hop over to DCA for the afternoon. And I was even looking because I know Toy Story goes pretty quickly and my son loves that. So even that was hard to book because you have to book something past 11. And I think I ended up having to book that around 11. And then I just kept pushing it back. But we never used a lightning lane this morning in Disneyland, which was pretty amazing. So definitely my early comparison of after Christmas or before Christmas was way less busy. It was really nice.
As you and I are recording this, it is after Christmas. I can confirm the crowds in all the parks are very busy right now.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, I did screenshot some different times in the evenings, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about that later, but it was a very different scene from when we were there last year. So that was a pleasant surprise for us. I was expecting the worst, and it was a lot better than that. So anyways, we rode Buzz Lightyear and Autopia. They were walk-ons, and my son at that point was sort of feeling pretty exhausted. The year before we went, we did take a break day before we jumped into the parks, and I think if timing could work out, we'd probably want a break day before we jumped into the parks again, just so he could get a little bit more sleep and get adjusted. And he really wanted a bubble blaster, and I brought it here for those watching on YouTube. But we bought this bubble blaster that has sound and it also lights up. And the bubbles in the bottom were sort of mint flavored. They were peppermint scented. And I know that seems ridiculous, but honestly, it seemed incredibly magical every time you turned it on. So I was trying to search the parks for the minted bubbles, but they did not sell refills, they told me. So
they didn't. So when you bought it is your only supply. And kids like to just turn it on and let it go.
I know.
So then you're out so quickly. But for people that can't see it, it's a peppermint looking Mickey on top, and then the peppermint smelling bubbles. That's so cool.
It was amazing. The next couple of times you refilled the bubbles, the scent was still there. It was sort of permeated in the device. I did try when I came home. I bought some peppermint that you'd put in baking, and I'm going to try to see if I can recreate peppermint bubbles. It might wreck the machine, but that's okay. It was the most expensive bubble wand you could buy at $40, but it felt worth it. It reinvigorated him to keep going, and that was sort of what we needed in that moment. And every time, I don't know, it got turned on, I just felt like I was completely in the Christmas spirit. So it was amazing.
It added, his entertainment added to the ambiance for you.
Yeah. So that was great. The one thing I really wanted to do this day was ride Tiana's Bayou because it was our warmest day. It ended up every day got to about 20 degrees Celsius and was sunny and was pretty nice. So that wasn't too bad. We went over there at that point. We didn't need a lightning lane. It was walk on. We waited 5 minutes. We did pre-buy ponchos from Amazon and brought them. They were pretty compact, 4 of them for about $10. And that was really worth it because my husband and I were both saved from the water. My son, though, was in the front row and he did get soaked even with the poncho. So I guess, I don't know if he wasn't wearing it properly or it's just he was in the front row and he got absolutely soaked, but we did bring him an extra change of clothes, so he was able to change. We did bring our sandals as well, so our shoes didn't get soaked. That seemed the most unenjoyable to me, but we had a stroller to sort of stick those in. Other people seem to be okay getting soaked, but you really can get soaked on that ride, so be wary in cold days, I guess. But it was really neat. I hadn't been on that ride since I was little, and not since they've redone it to Tiana's, and I just thought it was so fun. I didn't realize, I thought it was a very peaceful ride throughout the mountain, but it actually dips at times. I don't know if people know that, but it's so fun.
But what's funny about that is that people that don't know what to expect think every drop is the big drop.
Oh, that's so
Is this
fun.
it? Is this it? Is this it? It's like, no, you got to go up a escalator of sorts.
Yeah, I haven't watched pre-ride videos and I just didn't see all the other drops, but they must be hard to see. But that ride was so fun. I had really wanted to do that. We then went on Winnie the Pooh, rode that around twice. There was no wait, but pretty much as we got off the second time, the line was longer. So as we got to pretty much almost 11 a.m. on the dot, I would say it looked like the crowds were there and in the parks with us. And that point, we probably would have wanted to use lightning lanes, but not before 11 a.m., which that was a lot of time. And we got a lot of rides in with no. So we decided at that point we were going to go try and take a nap because we were all exhausted. We had put in a lunchtime order at Jolly Holiday. We did have to put that in, I think, still around 8 in the morning for 11:30. So when you're rope dropping, I can't stress enough the Jolly Holiday. I think you have to be booking that really quick. And so we got the turkey sandwich, which was my favorite food of the trip. My son got a mac and cheese, and we did get the cookies and cream Christmas tree macaron, which was delicious, but it wasn't my favorite macaron. And we ate that at the hotel. We did manage to get my son to nap for about an hour and a half. And then we were back to Disney California Adventure at 3 p.m.
And when you got to Disney California Adventure, then did you have some lightning lanes booked?
Yeah. So while I was away from the park and even through the morning, I had booked Toy Story Midway Mania, Goofy Sky School, and Incredicoaster. And I just basically kept moving them back. So I would book them every 2 hours. And I had them pretty much all between 4 and 5 o'clock. So they were stacked and ready for us to use them. So all of those, pretty much once we got into the park, we did the swings first, which the whole time we were there, the swings never had a wait, which was very different from last year. There were times that even the swings had a 20 to 25-minute wait. So I would say 5 minutes on the swings was the longest we waited. And we just love the swings. I don't know. It's just such a fun, magical ride. I think that was the first time I teared up, just so excited to be back there and riding the swings. We did get the al pastor sandwich from the Paradise Garden Grill as a little bit of a snack around 3. Our whole day was sort of thrown off. That was good. It wasn't my favorite though, but an interesting food. Then we did our 3 lightning lanes. So Toy Story Midway Mania, Goofy Sky School, and then we did Incredicoaster. The Incredicoaster was a stretch goal for our son. He'd never been on an upside down roller coaster. He's 5, but he's tall. He was so excited to go on. He was watching the ride. And when he got off, I think he said it kind of was a lot of pressure on his chest. So he did not want to go on again. But I think he was very proud of himself for going on it the first time.
It's a big ride.
Yeah.
Because it does everything, like the fast launch, upside down, and it's really long.
I know. I think he's done a big ride in Canada's Wonderland near Toronto where we are. And it's sort of the force of it that I think is still tough at that young age. So I had sort of prepped him, keep your head back so it doesn't fall forward. He did do that, but I do think it was still just a lot. The one thing that's so neat about the Incredicoaster, though, different from our big roller coasters at Canada's Wonderland, is that they still make it such a show throughout these big roller coasters. So there are parts where it slows down. So I was relieved for him that he still got tiny breaks in between really intense moments on that roller coaster. So it is still a good, maybe first roller coaster for some kids if they haven't been on big ones before.
What is it about Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway that bothers him? Do you know?
He said the lightning and thunder, the part where I think there's the twister and the thunder and lightning. We found slowly through the trip that even we thought like Radiator Springs he'd want to go on again. And he said, no, there's a really loud, scary part there. Soarin', the changes, like when the bird sort of flies at you. So anything that was loud and dark was a little bit more terrifying than we had realized from him the year before. And he had just grown up that year a little more cautious maybe than when he was 4. And so he was not as interested in dark, loud rides, which another day we did go on Thunder Mountain Railway, and I did not realize how dark and loud that ride was. So we did not ride that more than once, but it was fun.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point, which first of all, you don't know what your kid's going to be into till you get there. That's always, I have empathy for parents so much about this, because how do you book lighting lanes like for Disney World ahead of time when you don't even know what your kid's going to be able to ride? But also, just because they've been into it before doesn't mean they're still going to be into it.
No. Yeah. And I think this was a really great reminder for me as a parent to just be, I listened to the last podcast that just happened, and they sort of had to change expectations. And even for us, I think the focus on big rides had to really just move. Like that wasn't the goal. And by our 3rd day, I think I had really settled into the pace of what the trip was. And it was really magical to see some things that I don't know other people would necessarily spend time doing. And they were equally as magical for our child. And that meant it was magical for me.
Yeah, I think that's smart. And in a few years, he'll be totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He says he wants to go back when he's 11 to ride the big ride. So we'll see.
Okay. More than a few years. All right.
Yes.
Got it.
And so after we did sort of all the rides at Pixar Pier, or a bunch of them, we picked up a smoothie for him. He was hungry. He said that was his favorite food of the trip from the smoothie location in DCA. And we went over to Cars Land and rode Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters. It was actually the longest wait time we had of the entire trip, which I clocked at 24 minutes. Not really that long though. And the queue line is so cute of that ride, so we didn't mind. Once we left there, we weren't sure if he had much energy left, but he did. So we went to Pixar Pal Around, which we hadn't gone on last trip, and that was really fun. We did the swinging one. That way was only about 8 minutes. At that point, we were all hungry for dinner, even though it was 7 p.m. So we were all sort of thrown off on our foods. We went to Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta, and my husband got the holiday turkey pizza, I think it was, and that was one of his favorite foods of the trip. And then we were going to ride the Emotional Whirlwind. My son had a new burst of energy, but the line was maybe 25 minutes. And in my opinion, it's not worth waiting late at night for 25 minutes for that ride when the next day we were going to be able to ride that. So we went back to the hotel. At about 8 p.m., we had a bath, and we were all sound asleep by 9 p.m. So we did not do any evening things that night, but we were just proud to make it to there.
Yeah, I get it. And the next day is Saturday, December 20th. You had told us you're going to rope drop DCA. And based on your experience the day before, I assume some
we did.
Might have changed.
Yeah, we did still rope drop DCA. So we were up and early. We were up earlier, I think at 5:30 in the morning. We did leave the hotel by 5:56. Again, I was sort of lulled into thinking security was always going to be short. We got there at 7:08, so pretty much almost the same time. And it was so long, the line by the Disneyland hotel. So this was Saturday. So I guess just more people in the park. We had the choice of picking 1 or 2 security lines. They never opened a third until once we got through the line. But we were in that security line till about 7:46, so pretty long line. I don't know if people can watch for this, but the person who was the security guard of our line was checking every crevice of everything, like AirPods, pulling them out, which probably keeping us safe for something. But then the other line was just somebody like basically handing off the bags. So something to maybe pay attention to if you're at the end of those lines, go up and do a little inspection, because I think we would have been through the line about 20 minutes earlier if we had picked the other one. But it didn't really change much when we got through the gates of Disney California Adventure really quick. I saw that the rope drop line sort of at the center roundabout area was a big crowd. And I thought, why don't we just go over by the Grand Californian and see what that's like, because we knew we were going to Pixar Pier, and there was almost nobody over there. It ended up being one of the best decisions we could have made for rope drop. So going past Soarin' and around to there, they do hold you, but when they dropped the rope right at 8, we were the first people to Toy Story Midway Mania. So it almost felt like we got there a little bit quicker. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before, but it ended up being really sweet.
Never gone to Toy Story Mania from there.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Who knows?
Yeah, so
Did you have to go back through security again or no?
No, we just waited with the people from the Grand Californian. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know if they would have an area over there to rope drop, but it was there, and there was probably just a handful of families. So it was way less crowded, a little bit more enjoyable to wait, even though we weren't waiting long. Mm-hmm. So we walked straight on to Toy Story Midway Mania. We were about the first 5 people on that ride. We rode it a second time immediately, which is what we like to do just because that is our son's favorite ride. He adores that. No wait, no hesitation. And I always am relieved when it doesn't break down sort of first thing in the morning, which I've heard it can do. So we got on that. We did his emotional whirlwind, which we were the only ones on the ride, which is why I told him the night before, let's just wait because it's so easy to get on. We then went to the swings. And when you get on the swings early in the morning, they don't even make you get off. They just let you stay on. So we rode the swings 3 times in a row. I'm not too much of a person who gets motion sickness, but I did think, I don't know if I could ride it a 4th time and enjoy it as much as I did. So we rode it 3 times and they just let anyone stay on who wanted. And then we got off, went on Goofy Sky School, and pretty much everything was on off, no problems. At that point, we decided it was 9 o'clock in the morning. We went over to Mater's Junkyard Jamboree and rode that. It was only about an 8-minute wait. I, at that point, had booked a Soarin' Lightning Lane. I did really want to do Soarin', and it had a little bit of a posted wait. I think it might have shut down at one point in the morning, so it seemed a little bit busier. This is when we learned my son also wasn't that excited about Soarin', but I really it's my favorite ride, so I wanted to get on it once. He did eventually wait with us and come on, and he said it wasn't that scary, but he did not love the transitions when they're sort of flying at you, the eagle but it is just the greatest ride with the sense and this. I can't believe how well they do that. So that was about a 20-minute wait. And once we were off that, my husband got one of, I think his second cold brew of the trip. He did have 5 cold brews to try them all. I think they all kind of taste the same to me, but they have different toppings. His favorite ended up being a snickerdoodle one, if people want to know. But we went and did some shopping near Soarin' and just looked around, and it was a great little break. At that point, I wanted to do something that was going to be a for sure win, I think, with him. And we went to the Mickey's Clubhouse show, and we arrived there at 10:45, and the next show was at 11 a.m. It's about a 22-minute show, and he thought it was the greatest. I knew this time at least to get, if you can kind of get in the middle of the area, because they do bubbles and confetti. And when we watched it last year when we were there, we were sort of at the back and we could see it all happen, but we weren't in the action. And so it was great to get there a little bit earlier so you could strategically pick your spot. And he was right at the front of the stage with the sort of mosh pit of kids, and he just thought that was the greatest show. So that was the second time I think I teared up on the trip, because I just think that whole show is just such a magical experience for young kids. And I was reminded when watching it that he's still only 5. You're trying to make him go on all these big rides. And I'm like, let's just enjoy him being 5. And that was a really fun moment for me.
Mm-hmm. That's sweet.
And then we decided to go get lunch. So we went to Pim Test Kitchen for lunch. We got the chimichanga, which was really good. And our son got the peanut butter and jam platter. We also, this day, got the Festival of Holiday Sip and Savor Pass. And this day we got the queso and the sticky toffee pudding macaron, which is what I really wanted. And it was amazing. It lived up to all the hype. I saw lots of people saying they wanted it, and I thought it was fantastic. So not too sweet.
Can I ask, are these things that were on your bingo cards?
They were, yes. The sticky toffee pudding was definitely on mine. Right at the top right there, there's a tiny picture of it for those. It's just a Mickey head. And the queso, I think, was on my husband's, but it was fun to try different ones.
So as you're going through the parks, you have these laminated bingo cards, and are you literally marking them off as you go?
We didn't bring them in. We just kept them at the hotel, but my son was so excited each night when we got back to be like, "What did we do? What did we do?" And it was fun to cross them off. I think the things he didn't think about, like he got most of them. He just didn't get two because I think he picked rides and he realized afterwards he didn't want to ride those rides, but he did the best. He got everything done except for two things. I missed out on three things and my husband missed out on five, but he put very challenging things to do with a 5-year-old. So, but every night we would go and check it off and it was a great just check-in point. It doesn't allow you to be super flexible when you laminate them because you can't change them. But I think we knew pretty early on the ones that we weren't ever going to be able to achieve. But it was still a great benchmark for us to know how much more we had to go.
No, I love it because then everyone is feeling like they're getting to do a little bit of everything. And obviously you have to do a lot of things catered around your son.
Yeah.
But it's also like, hey, mom and dad have things they like too.
I think that was something that was really neat. And especially for my husband, some of the days when the lightning lanes stopped being quite as useful for our family, we were just sort of doing an evening show or the swings at Pixar Pier and you didn't really need lightning lanes, I would just start searching the app for some of the rides he really wanted to go on. So most of them that he did, like what's one, like Indiana Jones, Guardians of the Galaxy, is just because I kept searching later at night and people would eventually drop some of those times and I got them for him. But so it was great for me to know what he was still hoping to do and I could make that happen.
I love that.
So we finished our lunch and we decided to hop over to Disneyland. So this was about noon. We went on to Buzz Lightyear. You can tell our two favorite rides, I guess, as a family was Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story. Every time we swapped, we would always do it. It was only about 2 to 3 minutes wait. We did use a lightning lane for that. And we had gotten a lightning lane for Big Thunder Mountain. So we also rode that right after Buzz Lightyear. I thought Big Thunder Mountain was so cool. I completely understand I think they could use some headphones for little kids who are not prepared for the explosion part, but I just thought that was such a fun roller coaster. I loved it. And so then we went to Small World, and I think the one thing I learned about this trip is that the wait times were very strange. People weren't always on the rides. I think that's probably because people were there experiencing maybe just other things other than the rides. So this day in the park felt super busy. There were just tons of people everywhere we went. It was the day that definitely felt the most crowded. And I remember looking at Small World and thinking, oh, it's only a 5-minute wait. And so we went over there. But by the time we got over there, I looked at the line and I said, there's no way that is 5 minutes. And within like 10 minutes, they had posted a 70-minute wait time. And so that was to me just such a crazy difference that I just sat outside because the parade was starting to get ready. I think everyone also probably came over to see the parade. It was about 2:00 and started to save seats. And they thought, well, we'll just wait and go on. It's a Small World while we wait. So I just sat there and finally got a lightning lane for 2. Instead of waiting in the line, we then went and walked on at 2. It still was about 10 minutes, but way shorter. And that was, my son really wanted to go and ride that again. When we came off at about 2:20, we went over to sort of the bandshell area where they have Santa, but Goofy and Pluto were also there, just sort of being goofy. And they were headed to lunch, but we got to sort of wave at them and we got a little bit of a snack. And then we thought, why don't we just go watch the parade now? We're here and it's happening. We managed to find a spot. I'm sure we didn't sit front row of anyone, but we managed to find somewhere to actually be behind a group of people. I didn't think we were going to find anything, to be honest. And that was amazing, just being able to sit, relax, and watch the parade. I think my son, just every time something was coming, he'd be like, Mommy, look. And it's such like a joyous moment, how excited kids get for every single thing that comes by. So that was just such a great way to fill our cups, just taking a rest. We were in the shade. It was hot enough that we actually appreciated the shade.
And it was the Christmas parade.
It was the Christmas parade. Yes, that one.
Which is so cute.
It is so cute. Last time we had seen it and it was in the darkness and I liked how the lights, but it was neat seeing it differently this year. And so it was in full daylight, but we got to sort of see everything a little bit clearer. And so after that, we decided to take a little bit of a rest. We went back to the hotel around 5 p.m. We warmed up, sort of changed our clothing into long sleeves and pants. We always sort of took a break at some point in time and usually changed from shorts and t-shirts to something to last us for the evening. We only stayed for about an hour and then we headed back. And when we came back, we went to DCA and I had a lightning lane again for Toy Story and Goofy Sky School. We rode those. And then my son this night was particularly tired, but we had made it till 8:45 and I said, well, let's just go watch World of Color. And so we got a spot and we were watching World of Color and it was the pre-show and he was so excited and then the pre-show stopped. It's with Muppets and he thought that was the end of the show and he was ready to go to bed. So we did see World of Color kind of, but he mainly only made it to just see the very beginning and we started walking back. And I just sort of took my time. He fell asleep in the stroller after about 2 minutes and I just pushed him and sort of meandered and enjoyed the sights and sounds. At that point, I had gotten my husband lightning lanes for Indiana Jones and Haunted Mansion. So he went to Disneyland and rode those. And I was walking downtown Disney and I stopped because they had bubble snow just like going everywhere. And I thought, this is so magical. And I stopped and just paused and there was a lady there and she came up and she said, are you getting one? And I said, oh, what? And she said, a balloon. I said, oh, no, we're not getting a balloon. And she said, no, I have to buy you one. And she bought us like one of the Disney balloons and she just like, you just have to have one. And I just thought that was so sweet. Like
Aww.
People are so incredibly kind just to buy my sleeping child a balloon. And so
But I love that she said, I have to buy you one.
I know. I don't know. She just, maybe it was a moment for her where, she didn't have anyone to buy it for and she just thought somebody needed a balloon or something. I don't know.
That's cute.
It was really special. My son didn't know that he had gotten this balloon. It actually had Disney princesses all over it. And I thought, I don't know what he's going to think about that. But he was so excited about this balloon. He thought it was the greatest balloon. And so the next morning, he couldn't believe he got one of these balloons. And he was so sad having to say goodbye to this balloon when we left it. We didn't get it taken down and brought home. He left it in the room and we told housekeeping and they were going to try to find a new child to enjoy it. So I don't know if they did, but we're going to pretend like that was what they did. And so that was the end of that day. So around 9, we were back in the hotel, 9:30, and we pretty much went to sleep right away. We were all still tired.
Yes. The commute to and from your hotel alone adds, a lot of steps here. Totally.
Yeah. Every day we were around 25,000 steps, about 17, 18 kilometers. And we always went back and forth twice to the hotel. So it did add a little bit of time.
And between parks. So a lot of walking and downtown Disney. So yeah, I think a lot of people think Disneyland's small, so they're going to walk less. That is not the case. It's because it's so walkable.
It's so walkable. You walk everywhere.
You walk everywhere, which is nice, but also it can be tiring. The next day was your last park day, Sunday, December 21st. You had plans to rope drop Disneyland.
Yes, and we did. And so this day was my favorite day. And I think it's because we had felt like with our bingo cards, we had checked off most things. There wasn't anything in particular that we were feeling really strongly about. So we got there to this time I said, let's forego breakfast and let's just go quickly to the security lines, thinking it was going to be as wild as the day before. And then this day, they didn't have the security lines even opened yet. So we were sort of first in the security lines, but they didn't open. So again, I think you just have to pick and choose what you want to wait for. I think you could probably get breakfast and then show up because it doesn't save you that much time. But it was a good learning experience for me. I had 3 different experiences and I learned a lot doing that. So definitely pay attention to when security lines sort of open up because you don't really beat much time necessarily. We were in line at the gates at 7:16. They opened up the park by about 7:25 and we were in pretty much instantly. We decided this day to rope drop at Tomorrowland and go to Buzz and Space Mountain. And that was really neat. We actually got put in sort of the rope drop area with people that were quite seasoned and they were just telling us tips and tricks of food that was amazing and just things that we should do. And it was just a really sweet community to be waiting there with. And so it felt a lot more cheerful than the first day when it just felt really crammed and people were really excited to be there. Yeah, and running. It was much calmer. And the one thing I will note that day is that I remembered about the Mickey gingerbreads. And so before I even got into the park, I put in an order to get Mickey gingerbreads. And those, by the time we were waiting in line at rope drop, the wait for the Jolly Holiday was 7 hours out. So, and there were no more gingerbreads. So really you had to put that in almost at like 6, 7 in the morning, maybe. I don't know when it opens. You probably know better.
I don't.
But it was.
I know that it's competitive, but that is another level.
Yeah, I felt like we had gotten it the year before, but I thought, oh, I'll bring some back. So I got 2 of them. And so I did get a pretty quick return time. It was about 8 a.m. So we went, once we rope dropped, we rode Buzz 3 times. Nobody was on there with us mainly. It was just us by ourselves. Everyone's really going to Space Mountain when they're rope dropping Tomorrowland. That's what it looked like to us. We did grab a lightning lane to Space Mountain for about 9 o'clock. And we did rider switch there. We were prepared to have him come if he wanted to. He could, but he didn't want to. So we just switched off, and that was really simple. When we got off Buzz, though, my husband and my son did Astro Orbiter, and I just ran over and grabbed the gingerbread Mickeys. And then I got to watch them, and that was really cute. That ride we've never gone on before, and it's similar to the Golden Zephyr and just kind of spins around. After we did Space Mountain, we did the Nemo ride, which I'd never been on before. My son did think it was a little bit scary and dark at times, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would be pretty easygoing, but if, again, somebody doesn't like dark, kind of scary spaces, it does get a little bit intense there for little kids, and there's nothing you can do to help them because you are stuck in the submarine.
No, I was going to say, or claustrophobia.
Yes.
Could be a thing there.
Yeah, he was very excited to get off that ride, but I think it was cute. And I tried to explain to him after, like, we were never actually underwater. It just sounded like we were underwater. And then we got on Autopia. It was a bit of a longer wait. It said 5 minutes, but it was about 15. And then we'd never done the monorail, so we hopped on that and just saw the sights on the monorail. So again, we're not riding any of the big rides, but at this point, it's 10:30, and we felt no need to have a lightning lane. I had booked, obviously, the Space Mountain, and then I was booking things in DCA, but really, you didn't need it. We could have also just walked on Space Mountain or done single rider, and it would have been fine. After that, we decided there were some foods that we really wanted to try in that park. So we walked around the park and just sort of picked up snacks that we were hoping to try. My husband, that's when he got the Snickerdoodle cold brew. That was over near Tiana's Bayou. We got the Rontoless wrap from Ronto Roasters, which is a huge favorite of ours, and a garlic bread sausage from Edelweiss Snacks, I think it is. That was very messy and not my cup of tea as a lactose intolerant person, but somebody might love it. And then I also got a cosmic brownie cup from Galactic Grill and the alien macaroon from Alien Pizza Planet. That was my least favorite macaroon, but that's just because the others were so outstanding. And so after we grabbed those foods and sort of just relaxed, we left the park and went back to the hotel just for a little break. And we didn't stay at the hotel for very long, but when we came back, we went to DCA. I had remembered that we hadn't seen any of the parades yet at DCA, whereas we sort of just fell into them the year prior because they were always out. We had to actually be a bit more strategic and make sure we got back to it. And it's called Mickey's Happy Holiday Cavalcade, I think. And it's just the cutest parade. It's not very long. It's just short, and they dance and they're so happy. And so we went back in time to see that. And that was really special. And then we did Mickey's Clubhouse again, which my husband didn't come to the first time. And I said, I know it's not your thing, but you just got to come. And he just loved it and was dancing so much. And we kind of got a different view. And there's the coolest picture that makes him look like a rock star. So I'll send that one because
your husband or your son?
My son. Yeah, no, my husband was not up dancing. I think people would have been upset. He's too tall, but my son was up dancing.
That would have been funny. Yes. Like, my husband looks like a rock star.
Yeah. And then my son actually that trip decided his new favorite character was Pluto. He's been like a avid Mickey fan, and he all of a sudden loved Pluto. And Pluto was meeting outside near sort of the Soarin' area. So we met Pluto, which I think is really neat. There's not very long waits for some of the characters. That was like really quick, and it was really special to meet Pluto and for him to get his signature. We stopped there and also got the fluffernutter churro and the Cajun fries as part of the holiday eats. The fluffernutter churro I had heard people say so many good things about. It wasn't my thing if I'm not that into sauces, so I think I just prefer the regular churro, but I can see if you love sauces and peanut butter, that would be right up your alley. And then something that was really neat and magical that we never even went into last year was the Redwood Creek Trail. And so we went into there at about 4 p.m. And at that point, we didn't have any vision about more rides we definitely needed to do. I had a Toy Story Lightning Lane to kind of do that final time later that night. And we went in there and they had sort of a scavenger hunt for him that he could find letters, and he's learning letters. So I think he thought that was so cool. Santa was there, and Dale just happened to be walking around, and that was really neat that the characters sometimes just go in there just to hang out with the kids, and he just loved it. And so he was running around on the structures that they have, and I felt like it was such a great space for kids who just needed a break. And so I don't know if people think to go in there. It's not really a ride or attraction that I thought of, but it was really neat for him just to get a break from the crowds and from people. And then we did go over to do our Toy Story Lightning Lane, and I had a Goofy Sky School Lightning Lane. When we left Goofy Sky School, we walked out to the Disney Viva Navidad street party, which we hadn't seen the year before. I didn't even know that was a different one. My son said that was his favorite sort of parade. It's so bright and colorful and really awesome. We didn't have a great view. We were sort of just holding him up. And so we decided after that he went on jumping jellyfish and the swings, and we saw that the parade was going to happen pretty shortly soon again. It was playing every hour. So we actually waited and got sort of front row seats and rewatched that parade. And he was loving it. He had his bubble blaster and he was like pretending he was in the parade. And so I think that was just a really special moment that night. My husband then left us and he went and did Guardians of the Galaxy with the Lightning Lane. And we went back to the Redwood Creek Challenge, and he finally got up the courage they sort of have a zip line with a tire swing, and he got up the courage and started riding that, and he thought that was amazing and did that for about a half an hour until they closed. We finished with the Golden Zephyr, and by that point it was about 9 o'clock and we decided to go back. We didn't quite make it to the World of Color. He was way too tired to stay. And I knew we had tomorrow. That night, they actually didn't end up having fireworks. I had thought about staying that night and going over to Disneyland and seeing some of the shows, but I was also exhausted. So we all went back and we just went to bed.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something that I say often, which is every family has to figure out their rhythm. And with you rope dropping, and it sounds like he doesn't usually take naps.
No.
It's like you can't stay out till midnight.
No.
Because the days, he's tired.
Yeah, I think when you think about it, you're up sort of at like 6 a.m. and you're there past 6 p.m. So you're doing over 12 hours in the park. It's sort of an unrealistic expectation. Even though I wanted to make it to more of the night shows, I don't think he could have. So we would have had to have a later start. And I'm still not even sure if he would have made it, just because obviously Toronto time, we are 3 hours behind. So that's still midnight for him. So super late. So that was the end of our park day. And I think that day just felt so low pressure and something we didn't get the first time we went, because you just feel like you're go trying to experience so many things. But I felt like we really got to see parts of the park we had never seen before. So for people that are returning, sometimes you get these like beautiful slow days where you get to take in things you wouldn't do on your first trip there.
Yeah, and as a reminder, the day that you're talking about is December 21st. So we're very close to Christmas, and you still were able to do a lot.
Yeah, amazing amount. Pretty much every day we did 15 plus rides, and I documented our wait time every single day. And the longest time we waited total on a day was 120 minutes, but most of the time it was under that for the whole day. So to ride 15 rides with 120 minutes of waiting feels like nothing to me. It really felt like we walked on to everything. So even though there were definitely crowds, I don't know, it did not feel like level 10 crowds to me on those days.
It doesn't sound like it. And you know what to compare it to because you've been at other times of year. So you know what like really busy. One of the things we run into a lot is when we put out crowd predictions for Disney World is people will say, I was there last September and it was busy. I'm like, compared to what?
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be people there, but there's a lot more people at other times of year. So for you to compare it to like last year, for example, sounds like it was just a lot less busy.
Yeah, it was. And the one thing I was going to make note of too, so Radiator Springs Racers is what I go on and check like different days of the year, like sort of in the evening. And I think when it gets to over like 120 minutes, I think, oh, that's getting to be a busy sort of crowd day. And when we were there last year, I think it got over sort of like 240, 260. Like it was crazy. I remember looking at Radiator Springs thinking like, who's waiting that long to ride this ride? That's like half your day in the park. And this year, there were times it got down to 60 minutes. And to me, even on like a random day in November when I looked, sometimes it's over 60 minutes. So all that to say, like the days before Christmas felt like people were in the parks for different reasons. And it wasn't necessarily to ride those really big rides. So if you were really into those big rides, it might be a good time to go because I think people are there maybe more like us, watching the shows, taking in the parades. And people are a lot more random as they travel. They sort of look, so you don't really want to rush to a ride that has a low wait time because I think a lot of people are doing that. They might be more first timers and they're not really thinking through. So it's definitely was a very different crowd than the crowd that was after Christmas last year.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You said that was kind of a laid back day, but your next day might have also been a laid back day because you had some Disney stuff planned without the parks on Monday, December 22nd.
Yes. So this day was amazing because we got to wake up without an alarm. We just woke up and it was 7:15 in the morning. So still early, but we just got to
5.
No, not 5. And we just got to sort of wake naturally. And we left the hotel at about 9:30. We had a reservation for Storytellers Cafe at 10 a.m. And I think they were a little bit behind. So we got seated around 10:15. And that's sort of a buffet. And then the characters that were there were Chip, Dale, Pluto, Donald, and Daisy. That's who was at the breakfast one. And I think Mickey and some other characters were there at night.
And were you wearing matching PJs?
Yes, we were these ones. So I don't know if there were some people in downtown Disney that were asking where we got these ones from. There was a lot of people wearing the Old Navy matching PJs that came out this year, but these are from a store called Canadian Tire in Canada. And I don't know, they're mainly a store that sells tires, obviously, and home goods stuff, but randomly they sell Mickey pajamas the last couple of years. And if you buy them, not many people had these matching pajamas. So yes, we all wore our matching pajamas, which I think is so cute that you get to go to breakfast and walk around downtown Disney with your pajamas on, and people think that's normal. It's the only place you can do that, maybe.
I saw somebody post online, I think it was Reddit or something recently, like, why is everybody walking around in PJs? And the comments were like, because that's what we do this time of year.
Yeah,
get into the spirit.
Yes, it seemed very normal to be wearing pajamas.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I love about Disney Spaces is that you can do things that would otherwise be considered strange, like meeting characters or wearing PJs.
And matching outfits. I don't think I would
you want to do.
Tell my husband to wear matching outfits most of the time, but he does at Disney. So yeah, I think that was really special. The Storytellers Cafe breakfast was amazing. They do little dances in between. And I mentioned that my son had gotten a new autograph book. And for his age, I thought that was so great for parents who are wondering if they should get one. For him, when he's a bit more awkward when the characters come up, it really gave him a reason to engage with them. And so I think it's a nice way for him to have some engagement with them without feeling like he has to hug them or do things that he's maybe not as comfortable with all the time.
I think it's a great point. A lot of people think that characters are awkward anyway. So there's ways to mitigate it. Autograph book's one thing. Like there's something to do
Yes, exactly.
And like right now I'm wearing a shirt that has a Minnie Mouse on it, and sometimes when I meet characters I'll use whatever's on my shirt to be like, look, Minnie, look, it's on my shirt, because I'm like, I don't know what else to
Yeah, I
say.
know. Yeah, he brought up like his stuffy Pluto when he went, not Pluto, but I think the autograph book was great. And I was worried, I don't know, their hands seem so challenging. I thought maybe some didn't give autographs, but the only one we heard no from was Bing Bong. Was created before Riley was old enough, so he doesn't know how to spell. So Bing Bong doesn't give a signature, and I'm sure there's something about his costume that doesn't allow that. But anyways, that was an amazing breakfast. We had a really lovely time. I think the food there is really good. I mentioned last year we went to Goofy's as well, Goofy's Kitchen or something, and I just think the food at Storytellers Cafe is a little bit better. We ate the most we'd eaten the whole trip, and I think that one meal. And then we went in our matching pajamas to downtown Disney. Actually, before we did, we were in the Grand Californian. That's where the Storytellers Cafe is. And because I had gotten the gingerbread Mickey cookies in the park, they were just about to open sort of the Market Cafe stand in the Grand Californian, and I knew they had gingerbread cookies there. And I had heard many people say that they're different recipes, and I don't know why. I love just testing things out, and so I didn't believe that they could possibly be two different recipes. So I waited in line about 30 minutes to get these other gingerbread, and I do have a picture of both, so I'll send that in to compare. So they do look different, and actually they definitely taste different. And there were people behind me in line that said they were married there, and nothing that was made in the park could be used at their wedding. They will not bring food from the park outside of the park. So those are like my anecdotal experience, that they taste different, and people saying you really can't take things out of the park. So I thought the ones in the park were better at Jolly Holiday, and my husband thought the one in Grand Californian was better. I don't know if you've had both before, but
I have not, but that is good to know. Thank you for doing the research.
Yeah. So we left there, and my family was patient with me to wait for that. We did bring some home, and again, it was split about amongst our family here which one was better. So you are just going to have to try them both yourself to see which one you like the best.
Especially because I always complain. I always not complain, proclaim that Disneyland or New York City are my favorite two places in December. And I feel like there's some things I still haven't done at Disneyland.
Yeah, you got to go back and try gingerbread if you've not done that. And so we did at Downtown Disney, we did the Ornament Trail. And so it's about $12, and your kid can search and find all of the different characters in the Christmas trees. They give you a Christmas tree card, and when they see the different characters, you put the stickers on. There's nobody watching you do this, so you could just take it back and get your ornament. But my son thought this was really fun. So for $12 to run around downtown Disney looking for things, and then to be at the end and you get an ornament that we got to take home, that was pretty special. We couldn't find Dale, and so that we had to loop back and re-find Dale. So we thought Dale would be an appropriate ornament, but my child likes Chip better, and the lady who works the ornament stand just gave us both of them. So I don't know if they care too much about those ornaments, but I think it was really sweet that she gave us both Chip and Dale, because they do go well together.
Exactly.
I know.
Makes sense. And it's the Chip and Dale Ornament Trail.
Yes, I think that's so cute. So we did that, and we also went to some stores there. I had listened to one of the podcasts earlier, I think it was from about August, and one of the families said every day they just let their child pick out a different toy because they're so little. Typically the things they're picking out aren't that expensive, and I thought that's such a nice idea. So we had left the advent calendar at home, and I thought every day he can just pick out something that he wants. And I thought going into it, we were coming home with like 4 days of cars. Like that's what I was anticipating. But the first day he picked out a Mater and a Lightning McQueen car. But then the second day he actually ended up picking up this Pirate Mickey hat. And I thought, like, that's so practical. We're going on the Disney Destiny in February, so he's really excited about that. And so then he has this cool pirate hat to wear. And so I was really proud because that wasn't what I was expecting. He also picked out a plush Pluto. As I mentioned, he sort of fell in love with Pluto this trip, and I thought that was great. And then on the last day, he was convinced he wanted Mickey ears, and I thought, I never would have thought he would have wanted that over a toy. But then he eventually picked out the Mickey ears where you can pick the different characters, and he got Chip and Mickey on his ears. And then he also picked out for me some pirate Mickey ears. So now I'm all ready for the Disney Destiny, has his pirate costume ready to go. So that
Those
was
are fun
fun.
choices that he made.
I know. I thought Disney did their due. We got the balloon, the bubble wand, Mickey ears, a hat, and a plushie. I feel like that's what they hope every family goes home with. Maybe.
They should get as a pack.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's a welcome pack.
He was definitely influenced, I guess, by all the people wearing them this trip, because I wouldn't have expected that's what he would have picked out. But it was, I thought that was sweet that was what he wanted. And then we did see at Downtown Disney the talking Christmas tree Douglas fir, which is pretty hilarious just to sit and watch. I thought it was actually an AI robot, but I think it is somebody that does that voice, which is just so impressive, and it's hilarious.
It's a person. But my favorite thing is trying to find the people.
Oh, really?
Because they're really secretive.
Yeah, because they must see, sort of, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah. And they're just in regular clothes.
Wow. Okay. Well, next time we go.
As a kid, when I was little and they had things like this, I was just mesmerized because it was magical to me.
I know. It was absolutely so cool.
But I still think it's magical because they're so secretive.
It is.
About how it works.
And even as an adult, it sort of had tricked me. I didn't know. I thought for sure it was a robot. So anyways, and then we did a few shops there. We just got a few treats. The new Lululemon store was open, if people care about Lululemon. My friend runs the Lululemon store in Canada, so I went in. I thought for sure they'd have Disney merch, but it was no Disney merch. So I don't know if that's what it's like at Disney World, but if you're expecting to get Lululemon special Disneyland gear, it either isn't there yet or it's not coming.
This has been on my to-do list for years, which is to go through all the Disney spring stores and mark which ones have Disney merchandise and which ones are just like regular stores.
Regular stores, yeah.
Because some of them do. And so I'm not a big shopper, but if I'm going to go in, I would like it to have Disney merch.
Yeah, I think I would have maybe been convinced to buy something Lululemon if it had been special to Disneyland, but I can go to a Lululemon at home.
Exactly. Those of us that have access to, well, in Mexico, I don't anymore, but I used to live in a place that had all those stores. And so it was like, no, I just want the Disney stuff.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then after that, it was about 2 p.m. We had a very relaxing day. We went back to the hotel and went for a swim. As Canadians, there weren't many people in the pool, but for us, it was warm enough to go for a swim. So we spent the day swimming. We decided we were going to go to the Great Maple for dinner, but honestly, the breakfast was so big. None of us were that hungry. In the Westin, there is a club lounge, and they do sort of appetizers from 4 to 6 p.m. And the spread was really impressive. They had sliders and spring rolls and charcuterie, and that felt like plenty for our family to eat and some options for kids. So we didn't end up going out to eat that night. We just couldn't fit any more food in. And it was really nice because I did want to see the fireworks. So I was holding out that night the fireworks would be happening every night. While I was falling asleep, I usually heard them except for the one night. So it did go off every night. And so we were able to go up to the club lounge for the 9 p.m. fireworks, and they did go off. It was a little bit foggy, but they were there and they were beautiful. And they gave us champagne and s'mores desserts and popcorn. And that was really neat to be able to actually make it to 9 p.m. with our child and see the fireworks, even though it was from afar. So we did check the fireworks off, even though it wasn't in the parks.
Yeah, and then your commute to bed was much shorter.
Yes, we just got to walk down and go to bed. We were actually in between sort of going to the lounge for the appetizers and the fireworks. We were watching the news, which we don't typically do, but it did highlight. So if people were in the area at the time, Los Angeles was supposed to get monsoon level rains, and they were a little bit worried about flooding. And so they were suggesting to people to think about their travel plans for Christmas. And we were leaving on the 24th. And because we really wanted to make it home for Christmas, because we have a little one, we thought we didn't have anything super planned for the next day set in stone. And we thought, why don't we go see if we can change our flights to the 23rd? So my husband does travel a lot for work. He was able to call, and we were able to move our flights from the 24th to the 23rd. And while I think we would have gotten out on the 24th, our flight did leave. It left about 8 hours late. And there were, tornado warnings in the area. There was a lot of flooding. And I think if you're a tourist and you're appreciating a space, if they don't need more people during state of emergencies, it was just great that we could leave and not have to be there. And wonder if we're going to make it to the airport and things like that. So we were able to pivot our flights and leave the next day.
And you had booked the airport Marriott.
Yes.
Did you cancel that? How'd that work?
Yeah, so the next morning we woke up and we did ask the valet at the Westin, how early should we leave? Our flight's leaving at about 11 a.m. And they said, honestly, probably at about 6:30 if you want to be careful, just in case the traffic's bad. And this day the weather wasn't bad. They just said, you never know with traffic. It ended up being really smooth sailing to get to the airport. And as we were in the car, our flight was getting delayed. There was bad weather, I think in Toronto where it was coming from. And so our flight was pushed back 2 hours. And so I was like, oh gosh, we're going to be there so early. And we didn't cancel our hotel at the airport. This is a Marriott airport hotel. And so I said to my husband, so to get titanium status, you have to stay 75 nights. That was going to be our 74th night. So we didn't really want to lose it. We were just using points to get it anyways, but we weren't sure if they were going to credit it. And I said, we should just go check in. So at least they credit us that night. And so we showed up at the airport hotel at 7 a.m. It only took us about 40 minutes to get from our hotel to the airport hotel. And this has never happened before to me, but I guess it's an airport hotel. They said, oh, thanks for checking in. Here's your room. And they gave us our room at 7 a.m. So in some ways, we were so relieved. We didn't try to cancel it because now we had about 4 hours or 3 hours. There was a lounge upstairs. We got to eat breakfast. I actually got to take a shower and we just relaxed. So in some ways, it was worth it. I'm sure with hotels near the airport, there's lots of people coming and going at all hours. So that might be way more typical for them. But we thought in a time when things just worked out for us, that felt pretty amazing that we just got to use a hotel room for the morning. And then we took the shuttle from there, which wasn't very long, to our terminal. Although I will point out for folks, if you're rushing, the LAX terminal, like if you're going from terminal 1 to 6, that actually can be a long wait. So people should, even if you don't get the traffic going to the airport, the traffic at the airport is some of the craziest I had experienced. So that was good to learn on a time we weren't rushed.
Yeah. Did you say something earlier about 8-hour delay?
The next day ended up, the same flight had about an 8-hour delay. So ours only got delayed 2 hours just because the Toronto weather. But the next day, I think because of the Los Angeles weather, the same flight was delayed 8 hours.
So if you had kept your original, it would have been very, very late and gotten you in. Your original time home was going to be 7 p.m.
Yeah. So it was like really, that would have been Christmas morning. Yeah.
Good call.
It would have been tough. And yeah, we felt so much more relaxed with that decision. It definitely can't work out for everyone, but it was a complete perk of not booking the lowest level fare. So I know people can't always afford that, but it makes it very simple to change even last minute and to jump on a different flight. So we were really relieved about that and got home in time for the holidays.
Yes, just in time.
Yes.
All right. And you had a nice pre-Christmas trip to do all the holiday things in California. So just continuing it at home with probably slightly different weather.
Yes, exactly. And so I did tally up, just for those who are interested, all the costs that we had. So I thought I would share that. Just to the one thing we did do is we got a Disney gift card in Canada prior to coming. And we just buy that from a grocery store. And so for us, that works great. You get different grocery store points. But the other thing I had heard is you sort of avoid the 2.5% conversion fees if you only have Canadian cards. So we've always bought sort of some Disney gift cards. We don't buy too much. You don't want to be left with it. But if you go to Disney often, I guess that doesn't matter. But we usually buy one. So most of our food we just charged while we were in the parks to that Disney gift card. And the first time you use it, your Canadian dollars transfers to US. And I don't know, in my brain, it feels better when I'm just paying for things that then don't show up on my credit card for more. But when all of our food in total, we ended up spending $640 US on food over all the park days. We didn't spend much on the airport days. Usually we were in a lounge or something getting free food. So that was really our total food spend for all of the time. Anything we ate, the biggest expense was the Storyteller's Cafe breakfast, which for 3 of us was $230. So if you didn't get that, I honestly felt like eating is not a huge expense. I really feel like The food can be expensive, but if you share, I don't find they gouge you that much in the parks. We ate as much as we wanted and we're always full, and it was great.
And there's a lot of good quick service.
Amazing.
That's what you did. So
Yes.
yeah, so over a third of your food budget was one meal, one
Exactly.
character meal.
And so if you cut that out, and you could have easily replaced that with a $20 quick service, you could have bought way less than us. Like my husband, I mentioned, he got 5 cold brews. Each of those are about $7 or $8 US. You could have just had one. I don't think I would get that many, but so $640 on food. Our transportation costs to and from the airport, we spent $300 US on Ubers. We did usually upgrade to a slightly bigger Uber just to make sure all of our luggage fit. I don't think we had to, but we did do that. So that was about $300 US. Our one flight to change it, we did spend $78 to change that flight, but there wasn't a big change and we got money back. So it'll be a bit of a wash. The merchandise, which we bought the bubble wand, some cars, the Pluto plush, pirate hat. We bought 3 sets of Mickey ears and some gingerbread cookies and chocolate snacks to bring home. So we spent about $350 US on souvenirs. And so our flights were about $1,900 US. The tickets for the park for the 3 days with the park hopper and lightning lanes, this was the Canadian deal, was $1,700 US. And then the hotel, when I looked it up to stay for the same nights, was about $1,900. So with the hotel, it would have been about $7,200 US, or about 10,500 Canadian for those 5 nights. For us, we didn't pay for the hotel, so it was about 5,300 US dollars using points. So I think we felt like when you spread that all out, it feels like it's manageable. And I was sharing, when people go to Disney World, it always feels like it's going to be a little bit more expensive. I want to go for a little bit longer. And I think for about, if you save some points, I really think, or even go to a cheaper hotel, it feels like you can go to California and see really all the rides and experiences you would want in about 3 or 2 days. And it can be a bit of an affordable trip, even if it's a bit of a whirlwind.
Yeah, and like it's as you did, which is you use points for a chain that you frequent already, and so that can make it more doable. And there's lots of options in California.
Totally.
So it might be more in the budget for people if they have points and things to use. So thanks for sharing that. I did want to get your thoughts on staying there at the Westin Anaheim. Would you go back?
We love it. I mentioned on the pre-show that I love nice hotels. We were actually staying our 75th night over here recently, and I would say hotels like the Ritz or the St. Regis, I feel like, are just really lovely hotels. And I can't say enough that Westin Anaheim feels more like a Ritz, St. Regis caliber hotel. They do things just so special. When we got there, they had cookies set out for us that my son could decorate with icing. They put out chocolate covered strawberries. The room is so clean. The Westin smell is our favorite across all the hotel brands, and everything, even the room has, like, sometimes it's too high tech for me, but all the lights and everything are done with tech. They just have done a really good job making that hotel seem really special. While we were there too, in the club lounge, they brought Santa up the one day, so they had Santa at the hotel. The club lounge food, given that it's free, the breakfast included like a full hot breakfast, sausages, bacon, eggs, like all of the pastries you could want. The dinners at night, if you were really trying to go low cost, that club lounge could feed your whole family for breakfast and dinner pretty much every single day. And with the champagne and the snacks at night to watch the fireworks, I just think the whole package of that hotel makes it really worth it. We did feel some sadness as we passed like easier pathways into the park that you'd get if you stayed at Disneyland hotels, but the caliber of the hotel makes it a really nice stay for people that love their hotels and want to go to Disney. So I can't say enough good things about it.
And you said about a 15-minute walk each way.
Pretty much. When we were going in the gate right by Disneyland, the one thing we realized shortly after is you could exit through the Grand Californian at the end of your night. So we often then cut sort of a bit of the walk back once we realized we could do that, and not having to go all the way into downtown Disney and back around. So you can get a shorter walk at home at nighttime. I don't know if that's always allowed, but they never stopped and asked if we were hotel guests.
I think that path might be changing next year because they're not allowing that special entrance for the Pixar Hotel.
Yeah, it wasn't
Well-
that one. It was just the Grand Californian one. Just
the regular Grand California.
because we knew the Pixar one, we had stayed at Pixar last year, and they actually closed that one early, and they were a bit more strict at that exit if you weren't a guest of the hotel. But the Grand Californian, I guess you could go in there and be buying snacks or going to dinner, so they usually let people exit through there.
Makes sense. And then what did you think about going this week? And you'll have, I guess, last year you went the week after Christmas as kind of a comparison.
Yeah, I definitely, the crowds 100% made it very enjoyable to go before, although I feel like I needed a new lightning lane strategy. So I'll have to think about that if we were to do that again. It was really neat, although being somewhere where it's snowy, it was hard to feel as Christmassy. So it sort of felt like you were in the Christmas spirit, pulled out of it, even though it's very Christmassy, and then you were thrown right back into Christmas. But it has been nice having the days after Christmas to sort of recharge because it was a lot of go, go, go. But last year when we went, we kept going on to Alani and we went to Hawaii. And that was a really special, really big trip. So I don't think it can compare to that entire trip, but I would say for the crowds, if riding rides and getting a lot done is really your goal, I think going those few days before is probably really worth it. It's just a little bit easier. The crowds after Christmas, I didn't know any better, but now seeing them, it's wild. Like sometimes you're stuck, you can't even walk. So it is 100% way less crowded before Christmas. Maybe not always, but this year for sure.
Yeah, totally get that. And you went last December, you went this December. Is this the annual tradition now?
I don't know. The one thing I feel sad about is the Paint the Night parade. I really would love to see. So it might mean that at some point we go another time. And I think this trip made me feel excited to maybe like take on the experience of Disney World too. So I feel like our next time we go, maybe to Disney World. But you never say never, you know. We already have a Disney cruise booked in February. So I think we do lots of Disney things.
Yes. And I'm excited to ask you about those in the after chat.
Sure.
So thanks for keeping such good notes and sharing with us. And even though I didn't get to be there this year, which is my favorite place to be in December, I love hearing about it.
That's great.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Shannon.
I hope you enjoyed my conversations with Sarah. We did keep talking on Patreon about her future travel plans, which include a Disney cruise and maybe Disney World. She's normally a Disneyland person, so this would be a big step for her. You can find that on Patreon right now in video and audio form. I think that'll wrap up this episode of WDW Prep To Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, WDWPrepSchool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 495. Until next time, I'll see you on the site.